Alright, antonyms. So this comes up a lot less often than synonyms, but it still can come up, and it's using the exact same skills as synonyms, where the best way for you to get these correct is if you know the meaning of all the words that they give you. So obviously a lot of reading is important, especially our reading series. You want to get through all of that, and then also just keeping a vocab list, and using a word more frequently in your own conversation. So once you've picked up a few of the words from this book, let me just have a quick show of you. Yep, so this one is one that we've gone through quite a few times, in the hidden words. Sorry, it wasn't hidden words, I think it was, I don't know what it was. It was two different question types. Obviously in the synonyms questions, I told you that we should be making sure we know all of these words, and also in another question this word actually came up again. And what you're going to see with the antonyms is actually some of these words are going to come up again as well. But knowing all of these words, making sure you're noting down any of these words that you don't understand, and then trying to use them in your daily speech is going to greatly increase the amount of words that you actually know. And you're also going to sound a bit smarter because you're using some complex vocabulary. But let's quickly go over the antonym section and see what the instructions tells us. So with this type of question you're given two groups, so let's look at the example and see what two groups it's referring to. It's talking about these ones, so there we go, 1 and 2. Each group contains 3 words, so you can see each group contains 3 words. You are required to find 2 words which have opposite meaning. Okay, so yeah, all you have to do from there is find 2 words from which have an opposite meaning, 1 from each group is what it says. Meaning we have to find 1 from each of these, not 1 from the same, not 2 from the same, sorry. Very, very similar to the synonyms question type, so nothing really any different. All you have to do is go one by one, check against wish against pure. If that doesn't work, go wish against solve, then wish against hate, and then just keep going until you find one that matches. And you can see down here, after the first, second and third try, you end up finding that hate and love seem to match the most in terms of opposite in meaning. And yeah, that's about it. You might want to look out for homonyms is what it says. If they're the same sort of spelling and different words, different definitions, could be a problem. But and yeah, again, the best way to just learn about how we should be doing this is to just go through some of these practice questions. So let me just get my pen tool out and see what we can do here. So yeah, you can see actually a lot of these are very, very similar to the synonyms questions. So I would advise don't go back and try and figure out what these are. You should have, before you move on to antonyms, you should you should try and get very familiar with the words from the synonyms, and then you'll actually be able to breeze through these questions very easily without needing a dictionary. And again, like we said, we did this quite purposefully, so you get used to the sort of range of vocabulary that we've put in here. And if we do release a second book, we'll obviously be using different sets of words that we think will be useful for you in the exam. What I'm going to quickly look at is sweat. Does that match with stigma, conceal, or veracity? Nope. Does cable match with stigma, conceal, or veracity? Nope. Does reveal match with stigma, conceal? There we go. So reveal and conceal, although they also sound very similar, they also they're very opposite in meaning. So if I'm going to reveal something, I'm going to show you something. If I'm going to conceal something, I'm going to hide it. So let's move on. Question 2. I'm just trying to look. Actually, I see it very quickly just by skimming over it without actually having to compare word by word. I see gigantic and I see tiny, and these are opposite in meaning. So question 3, I'm going to do that again. Contemporary. This means sort of very new and occurring at the same time. Blunder means to make a mistake. Vivacity means to be very lively. Fumble means to make a mistake, so you can see these were actually the synonyms. Recluse. A recluse is someone who is very solitary or not really doing much, and actually from that you can just quickly notice that recluse and vivacity are very opposite in meaning. And obsolete, this just means useless, doesn't really match with anything. So another method, like I showed here, is just to go through it one by one and understand, or make sure you understand the meanings and really thought about them. Then you'll actually be able to quickly choose between the two and you don't have to compare them. So we'll do that again. Velocity, this is like speed. Gala is a social occasion. And bolster means to support. Sinister is evil. Minuscule is small. And undermine is to, for example, it's the opposite of support, really. You're not really helping someone, you're harming them in some sense. And there we go, we've got our two antonyms because they're opposite. So let's keep going with that. Plume is a feather. A revolt, this could mean a few things, but if we're talking about a revolt as a noun, someone who is basically revolting, or someone who is not nice to be around, would work probably. Retrospect is like looking back on something, so in retrospect, looking back in time, sort of in hindsight is a similar way of saying it. Surrender is to give up. Leaf is just a leaf, there's not really any way to describe that. And a feather is a feather as well. So let's have a quick look at which one it could be. So none of these immediately stand out, but the reason I was a bit hesitant on revolt when I was describing it is because I feel like there could be two meanings. So like we said up here, you do have to be careful of homonyms. So for example, like a revolution, a revolt could also be when, for example, all of the prisoners revolt and they leave or get out of the prison by fighting back, which is very opposite to, for example, if the prisoners surrendered, or a country surrendered in fight. So that will give us our two antonyms. So if you can't find something straight away, make sure you've looked and checked for all the homonyms in one of these words. So let's just quickly go through 6 again. So devil is the devil, so something that is evil. Deft is swift and smart. Dwell is to sort of stay around or hang around a place. So if you're dwelling around a room, you're sort of staying near it. Adroit is again swift and smart. Slumber is to sleep, and clumsy is going to be the opposite of adroit, but also probably the opposite of deft, and that will give us our two antonyms. And like I said, because you've probably done these words in synonyms, you should be quite familiar with these ones for antonyms, and you should be able to get these pretty well. And it's really just testing you on your understanding on how well you were able to remember and use the words from the synonyms sections. So let's keep going. So drab actually is sort of what it sounds like. It's like the opposite of bright. It's a bit shabby and dark, is what it basically means. So loquacious and garrulous both mean pretty similar things, where you're too talkative or you speak a lot. So you might call someone loquacious, you might say your friend is garrulous. Let's just keep going here. Susceptible means that you're sort of vulnerable, or vulnerable to attack, meaning like you're available to be harmed or attacked, something like that. Gaudy or gaudy, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, is very much the opposite of drab. It's being very extravagant, very bright, not shabby at all. like drab is. So we've got the antonyms right there, and beak is just like a bird's beak. I'm assuming is that what it is, what it's sort of referencing there. So question 8, let's keep going here. Bumpy, beacon, bevel. Alright, so bumpy, like a bumpy road. Beacon, like a beacon in Minecraft, or basically a point where you have light showing up, or some form of signal, basically. But a beacon from Minecraft is a very good explanation from it if you've played it before. So bevel, I think that's more like an edge over something. Level, not very similar to that, but it means flat. So if the floor is level, it's not bumpy at all, and you've actually already got your antonyms right there. But let's just keep going. What I assume that it means by undertaker, I just know it in terms of driving. So if you're overtaking someone when you're driving, you're obviously going over and around them. If you're undertaking someone, you're doing the same thing, but you're doing it from the wrong direction. So instead of going into the fast lane on the right and overtaking them, you're going around them on the left, and that is called undertaking. I'm not pretty sure if that's what it means, but you don't really need to check it. You can check it on Google if you need. But firmament, we've gone through this again as well during synonyms. It's like the heavens or the sky, and that doesn't match with any of these. So we already got the antonym here. Keep going with question 9. So location is a place. Humble is the opposite of being proud. Vain is boring. Extraordinary is not boring. And there we go, we found our antonyms. Extraordinary is very much the opposite of boring. Something is pretty amazing or cool. Choir is just a song, like a group of people that are singing, and a kernel is a type of wheat. So let's just continue. So a vagabond, like we said before, is someone who wanders from place to place, sort of homeless. Stateliness is a bit like majesticness, or how upper class you are, how formal you are. So the queen is probably very stately. Sink can mean a few things: a bathroom sink, or maybe you're sinking a ship. And actually, if we just scan through the next part, I already see that float would probably be the opposite of sink. Just a quick one on miser. Miser is just someone who's very cheap, so someone who doesn't like to spend a lot. Maybe when they see something like a 60p Kit Kat bar, they say, I don't want to buy that because it's too expensive. So that's what a miser is, basically. So let's continue. Question 11. Bibliography. So this is what you put at the end of like a write-up. It's just basically a list of sources that you've got. So a source, for example, if I stole this, or not stole, if I took this section from a different author, I would put them in the bibliography of this book, and I would say I would give them their credit. What else? Adipose. This is like fat tissue. We went through this already. Lenient is to be very. It's the opposite of being strict with someone. Oh, so sorry, I didn't see that, but we've got the words here. If you're lenient with someone, you're giving a lot of leeway. You're being very easy on them. Whereas if you're being strict, you're not really helping them that much. In that sense. So question 12, let's keep going. So balanced, so this just means you're well-rounded. Podium is like what you do when you're standing. So this will be first, second and third place. That's a podium. So the dude that's winning is going to be standing at the first place. Sane, so this, most of you will know what insane is. So sane is the opposite of that, because it doesn't have the prefix on it, meaning you're not insane or crazy, but you're pretty normal, and you're just normal basically. And the antonym is obviously going to be crazy. So question 13, huge, means very big. Microscopic is very small, so I just had to go through that. I'll be quick. Question 14. Weight is a measurement. Quiver is to be sort of like shivering, quivering, maybe in nervousness. Plump is to be fat, and skinny is the opposite of that. So there we go, we've gone through all of the antonyms there, but as always, make sure that you understand all of the words, including the ones that aren't the actual antonyms, and that will very much help you with these verbal reasoning questions.